And welcome to The Factor Uncensored. First up tonight, a Factor follow-up. A Louisiana news director who stepped down from his job after being accused of sending sexual texts to an underage teen has been officially cleared by police there. Bill Lunn at the center of an online sex sting headed by amateur predator hunters who posted on social media. The group accused him of sending sexual messages to a minor, according to police. Lunn had been talking with a woman on social media who said she was 19. Those messages from the predator hunters were later doctored to appear as if Lunn was aware he was speaking with an underage girl who was 16. Two of the predator hunters involved were arrested in June, accused of assault and battery. According to area reports, that arrest was not connected to Lunn. As for Lunn, he will not be arrested for or prosecuted. This case is a prime example of how dangerous it is, and it can be, to blindly trust these predator hunters on social media all the time. Now, joining us to talk about this, Precinct 7 Constable-elect Smokey Phillips, Waller County Constable from Precinct 3, Herschel Smith, and Factor digital producer, Ajibola Budarin. Glad to have you all here on The Factor. I warned you about this the last show. I said, should prosecutors take their evidence? And you were on the side of, yes, it could work in court. I knew this was coming.
You know,
your thoughts, Constable?
Well, you know, you win some, you lose some. You know, but you know, the problem I see a lot of times with police and different ones, you know, they take on things, and then they have to sign an affidavit. You know.
Yes.
And you know, it's bad because when you're on that side of the law, you have to have a bill. Then you got to hire an attorney, you know, and a lot of these poor people don't have all that, and so therefore they're not going to be as fortunate as this guy here.
Right, you know? Exactly. And in many instances, law enforcement officers will say, "Well, we'll let the courts decide," and they'll take you in. But do you have the money to let the courts decide? It's not as simple as that.
No, it's not. Oh, no,
so,
it's not.
Constable-elect Smokey Phillips, your thoughts on this?
Well, when you're dealing with the criminal justice system, all evidence should be filtered. If you have a black kid in a poor community, black and brown kid in a poor community that cannot afford a good lawyer, the prosecution's job is to assure that the evidence is correct and credible. Now, if it's not, then of course you shouldn't arrest someone who can't afford bail, can't afford a good lawyer, because they'll sit in jail. So I think it's the prosecutorial process to filter out the evidence. You know, if a citizen come in and say, hey, this person did that, this person did that, everybody deserves a fair chance at the table to say what happened. So in this case here, that evidence should have been filtered out before the guy was even charged. I mean, we encourage citizens to help the police, but when the citizens, don't get me wrong, Isaiah, there are people who come and say lies on each other.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree.
We can't just believe everything that everyone says.
You have to
unless
do the
there's
work.
some unequivocal evidence to say, hey, this happened, that happened, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Because as a black person, I don't want to go to jail and be locked up for years and can't get out because I don't have a good lawyer. But it's up to the prosecution to find the truth. Now,
we just recently had a former law enforcement officer on here this week, and he had consensual sex with a woman, and all the woman, who happens to be a white woman, had to do was tell the police that she was raped. But he's like, look at all the video around my house. And the charges were eventually dropped. So now he's filing a civil lawsuit. It's about doing the work and not taking it from amateurs off the street. Some of them may be right, some of them may be honest. But they're driven by what, Aji?
Yeah, so we're talking about the legal aspect, and I'm going to talk more about the social media aspect. And the big thing that we can say is that online, a lot of people, they enjoy seeing other people's they enjoy seeing other people's misfortune. And a group of people that I feel like a lot of creators realize they can target, because who's going to be mad about it are, you know, these pedophiles and these different predators. And you know, some of these people are doing it with the right intentions of wanting to get these guys off the street, but they know that when they're doing these videos attacking these pedophiles or these different people who are being accused of these different types of assault, they know they're going to get clicks. They know they're going to get comments, and people are going to support them, because who's going to support somebody who's harming young kids or anybody like that? But a lot of times, as we are interacting with these videos, liking it and giving these people a platform, how many people are doing the next steps to say, okay, let's look and see, is this true? Is this person committing these type of crimes? And there's no way to confirm, because all we're seeing is the video itself online.
And there's so many pranks and skits on social media that people have been misled by, and then they'll come back later and say, oh, that was just a prank, that was just a skit. And so some of these collars, when it comes to alleged predators, they become essentially skits for them until they're caught.
I mean, I've seen behind the scenes videos of some of these guys. They're reaching out and messaging maybe hundreds of guys a day, and if the guy isn't responding in a way that they feel like they can entrap the person or, you know, give them some evidence, they'll just go to the next person. So you have to ask yourself, how, you know, is that right? Are we creating more predators or creating more situations where people can be put in that situation? Are we actually getting people off the street who are committing these type of crimes?
And Constable Smith, do you think this was a case where this guy was a news director, former news anchor, high profile in Louisiana, and police said, look, we got him, without doing their due diligence?
Of course, you know, everybody want to have a big bus, you know. Most young people, you know, people that's out there, they want something to put their name out there.
Right.
You know, and of course that happens all the time.
And of course, for both of you guys, and I'll ask you again, would you trust something from someone on YouTube who was out supposedly chasing down and caught a predator?
No.
All right.
No, not without being fettered.
All right. We want to thank you guys for joining us here on The Factor Uncensored.